And I think, I have unfinished business. I didn't like the way I went out in the big house. I don't like people remember me being hurt. And so, I will be coming back for it all next year.
Hello, everybody. That was Blake Corum earlier this week on the Rich Eisen Show, saying he's coming back to Michigan for his senior year. It's a bit of good news, pretty exciting, and thanks to Rich Eisen for the audio there. It's something that I might play every day for the rest of the winter, spring, and summer. Fabulous news for the Wolverines. We got fabulous news as well for you, because today is Wednesday, and this Wednesday, today, on the 11th of January, means former Michigan Wolverine Jim Scarcelli joins us, and he is on the line. You can see him if you're watching the video. Scar, how are you?
Yeah, fired up, Denny. I'm going to go on Wednesday now. I think Wednesday's going to be a good day until, we get back to football season again. But count on Scar being here, trying to bring the wisdom. But Corum, Denny, when I watched Corum in high school, it tells you how wrong I am sometimes. And, everybody looks at kids different. I wasn't sure about him, and I saw some ability to move. I saw a little bit of toughness, but man, the kid is so tough. The kid is so agile. The kid is a darn good running back. He pass protects. And I am so glad we got him back. And I got to believe NIL was a factor. One of the good things with NIL, because otherwise he probably would have been gone. But he is a guy I'd want on my football team. He secures the football. He gets them extra yards. Bo Schembechler would love that kid, the way he gets the extra yard, falls forward, gets the first down. You can tell Mike Hart coaches him.
Yeah, I remember the first time I saw him going to the end zone. He reminded me of J.K. Dobbins, who plays for the Baltimore Ravens, will be in the playoffs this weekend against the Bengals. And then I remember in the offseason seeing him in that first offseason, he took an Instagram photo of himself, and he looked like he had blown up like twice as much from when I first saw him. And come to find out, he lives in the weight room. He loves it. I was surprised with Corum. After his sophomore season, it was so much a tandem of Hassan Haskins and Blake Corum until Corum got hurt. And he dropped a pass against Michigan State, and he dropped another one. And I think Michigan fans were a little bit more, kind of forgot about him and were a little bit more hesitant about like him being like this great back heading into this year than people nationally were like, this guy's the goods. And I don't think Michigan fans, I don't know if it was appreciating him or were down on him for some reason, or just, had glowing eyes for Haskins and forgot about it. But, he had about as great a year as you could possibly have, a single season this year. Then he got hurt against Illinois. But to hear that he's coming back, if he could fully recover, having a 1-2 punch with Donovan Edwards, as we sit here, we always talk about the next year. This is as good as, getting the number 1 5-star running back in the country, having Blake Corum come back for your team next year.
Oh, yeah. Denny, also, don't ever forget this, because, I remember, again, my experience as a player was maybe different than some guys, but I wasn't worth a darn as a freshman. I was bad as a sophomore. I was barely decent as a junior, but my fourth year is where it started to really click in for me. Same thing with Corum. His third year, man, was the year it really started to click for him. So don't ever underestimate him. These guys, again, I guess he's a weight room nut. They love him in there. The kid, they got to throw him out of there. And he plays like he just loves the weight room. But, yeah, he's just got that third year of extra strength training. And a lot of guys are later maturing like that.
You love the weight room, don't you, Scar, still?
I never had trouble, going to it was the running. I didn't like all the running, but I never had trouble going to the weight room. Gittleson made it fun.
Mike Gittleson, former Michigan strength and conditioning trainer for a long time at the University of Michigan. Well, we've got a few things that we're going to talk about today. We just talked about Blake Corum. You got some players, another player, a starter declaring for the NFL draft. That's news. We'll talk about transfers and declaring for the league. Also, Scar is going to continue. You know, if you follow us during the year, been a lot of game tape, and the coach has gone over it. It's been educational, fun, informative, and we'll continue that with some player video and some coaching video. We'll start with the big news that has remained on the front page, whether you like it or not, and that is Jim Harbaugh's future with Michigan, Jim Harbaugh's contract, Jim Harbaugh potentially looking at the NFL, interviewing with the Denver Broncos, talking with the Carolina Panthers. All right, Scar, let's start there. This is a little deja vu from last year. Here we are.
Danny, I'm going to bring it. I'm going to bring what I believe. Now, nobody knows for sure. I talked to some of my buddies. I'm just trying to speculate. I know I believe Jim loves Michigan. We are leaders in best. Michigan, leaders in best. Okay, we want the best facilities. We claim we want the best facilities, the best professors, the best resources, the best medical school, and we get the best coaches. We want to get the best coaches. Now, Jim came, and they paid him well when he first came to Michigan. He was proven. He won at Stanford. He won with the 49ers, and we paid him well. Okay, so it didn't go as well as it should. So they said about 3 years ago, he went 2-4. Take a pay cut. Okay, and Danny, we've all worked in different jobs where, I got buddies in sales. I was in sales. You don't perform. Yeah, man, you get the back corner office. You got to take the cubicle. Take the cubicle over by the toilet. Take a pay cut. And that's what Jim did. He took the cubicle by the toilet and took a pay cut. Ward says, okay, that's the way we're going to roll. I don't know if he thought Jim was going to quit. Maybe he did. I don't know. But guess what? He turned it around. If you give the guy the cubicle by the toilet and you cut his pay, and all us working stiffs out there, we understand that. And now when he produces, you better pay him. And if you're going to say, we're Michigan leaders in best, he should be the highest paid coach in the Big Ten without a doubt. No question. There's no way Mel Tucker and some of these other guys should be making more money than Jim Harbaugh, in my opinion. Not even close. Jim's proven it. So it bothers me. I don't know. Again, we all don't know what's going on with that negotiation, but I think he should be paid as the top. It should be guaranteed. He should be guaranteed the top paid coach in the Big Ten. And I think, I'm going to throw out some other speculation, Danny, if you want to jump in on the financial end too. But I think some of the frustration Jim may have, it might be the NIL. How are we competing NIL? We still haven't got a firm answer with that. He's the guy that has to go in the living rooms and close the deal with these kids. He's the guy that had the kid from California committed all along, and then at the last minute, here comes the Miami Hurricanes, in a 4-8 Miami Hurricanes. Now the kid wants to be a Hurricane, that big defensive end from California. So I'm wondering where we're at NIL. Are we competing NIL? Do our assistant coaches and Jim, do they have the ability to close in the living room like these other schools? So NIL. Are we helping our coaches there? Are we helping our coaches with transfers? Now it looks like we brought some kids in. Are they losing credit to have to come to Michigan? That's a question I have. Where are we at with transfers? Are we helping our coaches with the transfer pool and able to compete with the Buckeyes and some of these people that can bring transfers in real easily? And where are we at with pay with assistant coaches? Okay, we might have some disadvantages academically bringing guys in because we're Michigan, because it's tougher to get into Michigan. Well, we got to have the best coaches then to compensate for that. And are we offering and willing to pay to keep a Michael Hart and the best coaches in the country? So I know I threw a lot at you. I think he should be the highest paid. I want to compete with NIL. I want to compete with transfers. And I want our assistant coaches the highest paid. They've proven it. 2 championships are hanging up there. Go for it, Denny.
Well, let me throw a bunch of them at you. What about the idea that Jim Harbaugh looks like a bold-faced liar after he said it was a one-time deal, and now he's on the phone with Carolina, and certainly he was interviewing with the Broncos? Where do you stand on that?
maybe things were said. I don't know what was said about his pay or the pay for assistants and the NIL and transfers after last year. So is this something he's doing as leverage? I don't know. Does he really want to go to Denver? Does he really want to go do those things? See, and I'm looking at things from the perspective that I'm just saying with my gut. I don't know that Jim really wants to leave. But if I'm the fourth best, highest paid coach in the Big Ten after what he's done, and I'm looking down the street at Mel Tucker and what he's done, and this guy's making way more money than you, and so bold-faced liar, I get that. But what about the part of the guy that had the cubicle by the toilet and now he's produced? What about paying him now? Paying him leaders and best. Pay him.
Do you think that everything's amicable with the with the structure? In the pros, you always need to have the owner, the general manager, and the president, and the coach and the quarterback. You need to have a harmony between all of those. And of course, in college, you need the president, you need the athletic director, you need the regents or whatever the governing body is, and you need the head coach. You mentioned that pay cut, and a lot of people have mentioned this, that maybe like Jim and or Ward, these guys can't come to a amicable and fair contract negotiation because there's hard feelings. Harbaugh wants to come back at Ward, and Ward's in a tough spot because he did put him out by the can, and now Jim wants to get one over on the athletic director. How about that point? Do you think these two can hammer out a deal?
Getting one over, isn't that what we normally do? All of us working stiffs out here, we all face that kind of a situation, especially guys in sales. If you don't perform, different professions, high risk, high reward. Again, this is something though too. And again, I dealt with this. I think it's the same stuff in high school coaching, pro coaching. Who's the guy that brought you in? That those things matter. Who's the athletic director that brought Jim in? Well, he's gone. Who's the president that was here when Jim was brought in? Well, he's gone too. So now you got other guys in there. How committed are they to Jim? What is that relationship? I don't know. Okay, I'm just throwing stuff out there.
Let me throw something at you. This appearance, there's a lot of people that are coming at Ward over the last 24 or 48 hours, and that's fine. This is big boy negotiations. He's the athletic director. He gets paid a lot of money. So does Harbaugh. But we know whether it's a stalemate or whatever they're trying to do, hammer this thing out to get a signature and have Jim Harbaugh come back. That's what we want to see. But I don't, Harbaugh, if he doesn't like the name, image, and likeness, well, he sure got a funny way to go about it. He said absolutely nothing about it. Oh, wait, let me hold and take you back to the season. And even before the season, Harbaugh's stance was, we're not getting involved in any name, image, and likeness. They could come in and do everything. But no, we're transformative. This is nothing about money, transactional. Is he saying one thing that, just like he says, no man knows the future, he's saying something in public, but he wants something else in private because, those things aren't meeting with me. Maybe something behind the scenes, but when he's talking, he's not saying the same thing to everybody else that people are saying that he's, wanting behind the scenes. I'm having a hard time.
No, I get it. Maybe he doesn't want to throw the university under the bus there and say, listen, they're not giving me what we need to compete in those living rooms. Maybe he doesn't want to do that. I don't know. You know what I mean? If I was in his position, I'm trying to put myself in that position. If I was getting out recruited in those living rooms and I'm getting out NIL'd in those living rooms and I'm losing kids, if I'm the head coach, am I going to throw the university and the athletic department and the athletic director under the bus and point the finger directly at them and say, you're not giving me what we need? Okay. Or would I do what Jim did and just say, that's the line of our university and the athletic department? I don't know the answer to that question, Danny.
Let me ask you another one you probably don't know the answer to. Do you think it's a strategy to go out there and catch a level 1 violation for buying a couple tacos or something for a kid when you know that Jim Harbaugh knows how to cross the I's or dot the I's and cross the T's and goes out there and does something knowingly, potentially to get a violation and then lie or mislead the NCAA to catch a level 1 to shine light on what? The impropriety of how things are going in the dirty NCAA? and how Michigan's doing everything right? I mean, how do you look at that one, Scar?
Well, I don't. You're insinuating he did something on purpose?
I don't know. Tell me.
No, I don't think they did it on purpose.
It's an accident. He tripped up, and then.
Well, there's probably I think somebody that was on the inside, a former coach. I'm hearing the guy that was down there in Miami now, kind of left Ann Arbor with hurt feelings. That guy. That's the name I'm hearing.
Oh, Josh Gaddis.
That's the name I'm hearing as the snitch. So I don't know for sure. Just people talking out here. Haven't heard it for sure.
We're talking. But, yeah.
That's a name I'm hearing. There's probably little nickel dime minor things that coaches do all the time that, again, people probably just talk, they're the little nickel dime things that nobody turns each other in on. And it was probably some nickel dime thing that Jim didn't think would, and obviously they caught him in a lie. So that's where he's at. But listen, I can't.
Scar, let me give you a hypothetical. We'll go off of that. That stuff's going to be playing out for a long time, and we'll have a little bit more information on that about the NCAA investigation and everything else. Let's go back to the contract for a second. Let's say that Jim Harbaugh is going to be the highest paid coach in the Big Ten. Let's say he has that all down there. Let's say it comes out to the buyout, and he has a small buyout now, and he wants to keep it as a small buyout. That's his right. He has an agent now, apparently, and the agent's like, yeah, let's keep the small buyout. Well, what that says to everybody in the country is that next year at this time, that Jim Harbaugh is going to be doing the same thing if he wants, whether he wants to use it for leverage or if he really, what it looks like, wants to go out there and see if he can get an NFL job. What if Ward Manuel's like, we need to fatten this thing up so the NFL stays away, and so that high school players, they're not being told by everybody like, look, Harbaugh's a big liar. He's gone. Why would you go there? Why would you are you going to die on that hill of a low buyout if you're Jim Harbaugh and his agent, if everything else, meets where you're at with it?
Yeah, Danny, he wants that low buyout in there. I don't know about all that stuff, but in terms of why he wants that in there, but I just believe he should be the highest paid coach. And I think a lot of these problems, a lot of this stuff would go away. If I'm Ward Manuel and I'm the president of that university, I just think I'm going to do anything and everything in my power to help our coaches compete, especially if they're producing and performing like we are. Are you kidding me? Danny, I heard this a long time ago when I was playing. You know which school in the Big Ten gets the highest increase in applications every year? Highest increase in applications every year. You know which team in the Big Ten that gets that?
Michigan State.
Nope. The team that goes to the Rose Bowl.
Okay.
That's the way it was when I was here. And for 20 years that played out. If you got a great football team, people applied and want to go to your school. So and I just think I would keep the football coach happy at all costs, man. And end this stuff. Make him the highest paid coach, because all your others, if football's good, all the other sports get what they want too. Then they'll have money. Then we remember what it was just a few years back to have empty suites and empty seats at Michigan Stadium near the end of Rich Rod and some of the Brady years. So we don't want to go back to that. I'm just trying to voice my opinion. I just believe a lot of these problems could go away if we give our guy everything. And it's the assistant coaches too. I want them. They should be the highest paid assistant coaches in the Big Ten. Jim should have the highest pull, period. No question. Okay. We're Michigan. We're leaders in best. Well, pay it, show it, do it with money too. Don't just talk about it. Don't just sing the song, man. You got to back it up. They're producing. The assistant coaches are producing. Pay them.
Yeah, well, he has an agent now. If he's not getting the proper amount of money that he wants for his assistants, or if he's not being offered the highest salary in the Big Ten, what he needs to do is have his agent, call up his buddy lawyer and have him tweet some things out. Go out there and go on the Rich Eisen show yourself and say some things. That gets out there. That's the kind of things and how you negotiate in the media. What's not good faith negotiations? Hey, I told Ward that this was going to be a one-time thing, and then he's picking up the phone. We got to see that he's zooming with the Broncos. Wasn't a good strategy by Jim Harbaugh. He has lost a lot of the Michigan fan base with his actions this week. And what it looks like is that Jim Harbaugh is thinking about Jim Harbaugh. He's not thinking about Michigan. He's thinking about that he likes the NFL more than he likes Michigan. And he's got a lot of damage control. And I know that his lawyer and there's other people that are out there and trying to be like, oh, yeah, this is Ward. This is Ward doing all this. But he's not done this. His strategy, he might be pretty good when it comes down to winning the Big Ten and less and all the game plan. But this particular game plan and getting what he wants is like the game plan for TCU. It's falling apart.
Denny, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If you were in that position, and your assistant coaches were third, fourth best in the Big Ten, and maybe you had promises or you had people say things after last year's championship, okay? And you're seeing that, you know what? Some of these promises of last year with NIL stuff, that it's really not happening, or some of this transfer stuff, well, it's really not happening. Or, the pay for my assistant coaches, it's still not happening. And Ward said last year, the same time I said I wasn't leaving, we're going to do this, 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 and this. And maybe those are the reasons we got Denver Broncos and Carolina Panthers. You want to put it on Jim. I want to, maybe he's doing these things because he feels he has to fight for Michigan in his way, fight for Michigan coaches this way so that we can compete. There could be that argument too, that Jim doesn't really give a damn about going to the NFL. He's doing some of these things so that he can give Michigan and Michigan coaches every opportunity to compete and continue to win championships.
Well, I would have to tell him that, he's got an odd way of showing how much he loves Michigan, and that what it looks like is it's walking, quacking, and it looks exactly like a duck. I'd say, hey, Jim, why don't you just call up Mitch Albom and say, instead of, zooming with the Broncos for some leverage, why don't you just call Mitch and say, you know what, Mitch, I want to stay at Michigan, but we're working on a contract right now. Hey, between me and you, the big sticking point is I would like to see a little bit more money for my assistants. And yeah, when it's coming down to it, I'm going to have to explain to everybody about this low buyout. What's that all about? If those are the sticking points, it would have taken him 1 minute. I don't like him going out there and telling everybody, in Ecclesiastes 3:17, no man knows the future. And then I don't like him putting up his signature and using Bo Schembechler, those who stay will be champions. And then 3 days later, being on the phone with the Denver Broncos. I'm going to tell him that's a fumble at the goal line. That's a fully special. That's using a running back close to the line and having him fumble. That's having your quarterback throw pick sixes. He's going all about this. Whatever his strategy here, whoever's giving him his advice, if it's his fancy lawyer and all these other things with the NIL, what it looks like is Jim Harbaugh is completely messing this up, or he wants to go to the NFL and he's using Michigan. So, hey, that's just the way it looks to me. Yeah. I know we're just talking, Scar.
I hear you, Denny. Hey, Denny, you know what? Denny, we'll know in a little bit, because here's what I'm hoping. If at the end of all this mess, if Jim's the highest paid coach and his assistants are the highest paid assistants, and we got NIL to compete with Georgia and Ohio State, and we got transfer options and help to compete with these guys, at the end of the day, if all those things are happening, then his strategy is brilliant. But we're going to see. We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, we'll see how brilliant it is. I think that if he comes in, it is the most important, getting that signature, and being back to Michigan, the contract negotiation can be messy and everything. But I still think, if it's this like a marriage or something, I think he should be sleeping on a couch for a couple weeks, even if he comes back. I don't think he went about this the right way. He needs.
I get it, Danny. Well, you and I aren't in those negotiations. We're not in the meetings. We don't know the relationship between him and Ward and the president. And, but Danny, I don't know if you want to keep going on this. I wanted to talk briefly about.
If you had any other points, I've said anything. I don't know. Every day I come on here and tell everybody that I don't have much to say about Jim Harbaugh. We're going to let this play out. Let's be patient. Let's not, let's take the emotion out of it. And then for 45 minutes, I'm over here screaming and yelling. And I get to the end and I'm like, I don't really know what I just did. I just screamed and yelled at everybody. And it hasn't put me in a good mood. And I don't think I got anywhere with it. So I don't know. Is there anything else that you wanted to say?
No, I just, I was a high school coach, and there was times when we were winning, and I knew I had to strike too sometimes. When you're winning, you got to strike to sometimes irritate some people. Richard S., former player of mine, he's in here all the time. I just want to say hello to Richard. He's commenting in. But Danny, about the Georgia TCU game, real quick. I tell you, listen, Georgia has really, really good players. They've recruited really, really good players. But they also have some real smart coaches. They did some things that I was hoping our coaches would have done on both sides of the ball. So I give Georgia credit for going out and recruiting and doing a great job recruiting. But those guys can coach, man. Those guys can coach also. And that tight end, I just real quick on that tight end, that kid is unbelievable. What a tight, and you know, Denny, when I'm watching that kid, you know what bothers me is that kid has to play another year of college football. That kid would be a first-round draft choice. He'd be a first-round draft choice if he could come out right now. That's a whole other topic. I don't think it's fair. That kid should be going out. I mean, he'll get a nice NIL package, his third year here, but that kid should be playing pro football next year. And that's another topic for another day, but that is a heck of a player there.
Mm. Yeah, he should have been getting the votes instead of his quarterback, Stetson Bennett, to be in New York. I mean, that's something all year long. They do a great job keeping him involved in the game plan. But, yeah, he should be out there. This will be a plea to the media and anybody that has a vote. It's not all media for the Heisman trophy. Brock Bowers should be, the preseason favorite in that. Before you get to the other stuff there, that is a great point about having to stay around for 3 years because he would be a first-round pick.
Penny Sewell did it, but that was the COVID year. The Lions guy, the big tackle for the Lions. He sat out his that year.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, who will, speaking of the Heisman, who will Michigan push for the Heisman? You've got Lightning in the backfield, and you got the quarterback in McCarthy. You think these guys, it's like one of those situations. It's a nice problem to have. You got 3 Heisman candidates.
You got to win, Danny. We got to keep winning. Okay, none of that's happening if we don't win.
All right,
okay?
Yeah, that's
got to go. Those are team awards, man. Heisman Trophy. Desmond Howard won it. He come from a winning team. Old Tom Harmon came from a winning team, and of course Charles had the national championship team. So you got to have a winning team, and let's just keep winning, and then let the. I like that. BS walks, money talks, baby. That's right. It's one thing, Mr. Ono over here, the nice president, everybody likes him. He's happy and smiling around and shaking everybody's hand. Well, we got to take care of our coach.
Yeah, well, Santa right now is checking his list, and so he's making his rounds over there. He's working more than one night a week. He's in Ann Arbor sliding down the chimneys, and he's got a big cookie and a glass of milk that he needs to take care of today, and everybody will be happy with him. So let's see. Yeah, there you go. What else, Gar? Are we moving back to?
Just a couple things. I saw that Purdue hired a assistant strength coach from Michigan. It's good to see it. It's good to see Michigan guys go on. Assistant at Michigan now. He's a head strength coach at Purdue. So that's nice to see. And I'm wondering with some of these, and that's the downside of when you are paying guys good. But when are some of our assistants going to start getting some jobs? Because there's a lot of them that are really, really qualified and ready to go. But I don't know if you wanted to get on some of these guys that are leaving. I know you've been talking about them last week. Mozzie Smith, great player.
Yep.
I thought we had the best 2 inside guys in the league. I'm hoping Jenkins could leave. He has another year. Jenkins is it'd be good to have him. I think we're real good interior wise because we got Graham back. We got Big Grant back, and we'll have Benny in there so those 4 will give us real solid interior returners in there. But Mozzie's got to go play pro football. He's ready to go. I think on the edge, Michael Morris coming out. That's a good decision. That kid can make a team. He'll play. He could have a good career. But we'll have McGregor back. We'll have Okie back. We'll have Harrell back, and we'll have Moore back. So we've got 8 really good players for our defensive line positions coming back there.
Yeah, and here's a question from KO, who's talking about Jaimon Green. He declared for the NFL draft today. and he wants to know who the starting corners are. Well, Will Johnson. I think he's saying who's going to be the other starting corner. Will Johnson. That's an easy one. But now we're looking at Jalen Perry, Jaden McBurrows, who was hurt this year, and then a couple different freshmen from last year that redshirted. You got
there's Turner and Moten still. Aren't those guys corners?
Moten's a safety. Turner went pro. DJ Turner.
Oh, okay, I didn't know. Okay,
he's going pro. You're down to the Kobe Jones
and Saab.
Miles Pollard, who also was a corner on this year's team. I get Miles Johnson and Miles Pollard confused, but they've got a couple that were some freshmen, and you saw a little bit of them in the spring game.
Yeah, our safety position is strong. Page is back. Sanistral's back. Moore is back.
Right.
So our safety position looks really, really strong. Linebacker now with the kid from Nebraska, and Rolder will be a year older. Mullings, I don't know what they're going to do with Mullings, but you got Junior back, and then Hill Green. You know, there's some good looking linebackers back. There's going to be, I don't know if any of those guys are going to think about transferring. You know, bringing in the kid from Nebraska. You'll wonder if some of those linebackers who are paying their dues are going to think about leaving. You know, Pollard, that's the guy. So, yeah, there's some real good competition at linebacker. You know, we've got really, really good competition in depth all through our defense. So, you know, we got let's get those coaches back and let's just keep rolling.
And in the rumor department, Account 22 is bringing it up. A lot of people continue to talk. You'd have to look at the Mason Blue Review and ask Josh Henschke about it. I'm sure he is right on top of this. But a lot of people talking about Damani Jackson, who went to USC. He is friends with Will Johnson. The possibility, I don't know if he's expressed his interest in, or if he's in the transfer portal right now. I should probably know that, but I don't know. A lot of people talk about him. They talk about him so much, it makes me feel like he is in the transfer portal. So there you go.
Yeah, I don't know. We brought some good ones in. Our offensive line, I mean, you got to wonder which names we're going to start seeing on that transfer. I mean, you got the Crippen kid. He was the highly recruited kid out of IMG, and now you bring in the big kid from Stanford. And then you got Raheem Anderson. You know, he's a guy that was paying his dues too. Is he, you know, are some of those kids going to start looking at transferring with some of these other transfers that we brought in? You know, what's Percy going to do? What's Jones going to do? Because you got Big Hinton here now. You got the big guard we brought in from Arizona State. I mean, we got good players here. You just wonder if we're going to see some more guys trying to make the move before spring ball, after spring ball. I don't know. But our offensive line is solid. We've got good players there. There's good depth. So I'll get on the defense a little more next week on just some quick general thoughts. But offense next week. Those are just some quick thoughts that defensively I think we're in really, really good shape looking at the guys that we brought in and then who left.
All right, sounds good to me. You ready to look through some of this tape?
Yeah, you know, Danny, I did say. Remember, I said about 2-3 weeks ago. I said you're going to see Andrell Anthony. I bet you'll see him in the portal.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, I said that a couple weeks back, and because he just hadn't been playing. Now, look, we're trying this out for the first time. We got Sherrone Moore's voice. This is a clinic tape. Okay, he's going to talk about our power play. I'm going to try to shut up, and maybe I'll pause it to maybe explain something that maybe, Denny, if you don't think you understand what he's talking about. So,
all right, well, let me get here. I'm excited to see it here. So,
yeah, we got about 8 minutes. This is coach's clinic stuff. I've been to hundreds of clinics. You know, you want to listen to these guys. So I'm going to shut up and listen to Sherrone Moore. And that's how it started.
All right. Let's see. Not you subscribing. They're telling you to subscribe. Do you hear the coach saying something? Because I don't right now. That doesn't.
Danny, can you not hear him?
No, I cannot.
Okay.
But let's ask the people. Maybe they can. The people that are watching this, can you hear Sherrone Moore talking? We'll wait. We'll wait for somebody to say. Because is he talking right now, Scar?
Yes, he is. I hear him clear on my end. And this is the first time I'm trying this. And you're not hearing him?
I'm not. That doesn't mean, and let me see if there's something that could be on my part. And no, the people are listening, but they cannot hear him. So,
all right, Danny, I'm going to shut it down. Then he's just talking about the power play, and what he was talking about is how they like to, just like I was talking about, we tried to do against TCU. They found they had more success when they widened things out, and that's what he was talking about here. Well, maybe I'll let him talk, and I'll interpret what he's saying then.
Yeah. Or, throw a couple buttons. Maybe
let's do it like that. I can hear him. I'll explain to what he's talking about. So he's basically saying they like running this stuff in face, get the people out of the box. This was against Washington last year, and that's our power play. And that's what he's talking about there. So I'm just going to let it run, and I'll listen to him, and then I'll explain some of the things he's talking about. Here's the same play, and he's talking about how they what he's talking about here, Denny, is opposed to the way I ran the power play and a lot of different coaches. We determined that it's going to be certain players that'll pull all the time. What Michigan does, and he's explaining here, is they'll pull the center, or they might pull the guard, or they might pull a tackle. But it depends on where this gap is. You see this gap right here, Denny?
Yeah, it's bigger than all the other spots.
Okay, so what they worried about is they got to seal this gap. Okay, they got to seal this gap. So they are communicating. These five guys are communicating. This is what Sherrone Moore is saying. They're communicating which of these two guys are going to pull. Is it going to be the center or is it going to be the guard? And because this gap is here on this play, they determine they're going to pull the guard, the center, and they're going to have the backside tight end come around here. And these guys are communicating this at the line of scrimmage. And this is what Sherrone Moore is saying right now.
Let me ask you a question, Scar, before we go any further. We're looking at it could be a little bit of an illusion here. Aren't all of these splits how far the guards are away from the center and how far away the tackles are from the guards? Aren't all of those splits, shouldn't those all be the same distance? Because it looks like the right side, it looks like the splits are bigger than they are on the left side. Or is that just me not looking at and being able to see it? Because it sure does look like with Keegan and Hayes that there's only like 6 inches of a split between them, where I'm looking over here at Zinter and the right tackle, and it looks like there's 2 feet between them.
Yeah, Danny, what he's saying also is these guys will play with splits, okay? Offensive linemen are constantly, they're psychologists, okay? They're constantly playing with splits to mess with the minds of the defensive football players. And also, maybe they're going to run in that hole that they want to widen you out on. But sometimes it's for other reasons, just to play mind games. But yeah, splits, Denny, in general, offensive linemen, they play with them all the time. I'm going to let this play run. I'll try to talk about what the things he's talking about. He's talking about how these two guys are going to seal in here and seal this gap. These two players here as they're going to pull the center here. He's going to let it run here in a second. So gets the pull out, kick out from the center, and then that's what he's talking about.
It's a running back's dream right there.
The guy he's really complimenting here is Hayes, okay? The guy he's complimenting is Hayes, how he's coming down in here, helping, and then bouncing off. So he's complimenting Hayes the way he's blocking. He's complimenting the whole offensive line. Really, I mean, everything is perfect.
Yeah, it is.
But he's really, again, this is why Hayes is going to be an early draft pick, because he has the athletic ability to get upfield and to block the edge, but also have the athletic ability to get up on the linebacker. He's talking about the center here now. And Danny, we'll get this cleaned up. We'll get this technology cleaned up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's talking about the center with a nice job pulling. We only got a couple more minutes of him, but I wanted to try something different for our listeners and viewers. So now this is Here's a different play, different team. Oh, you know what's interesting is I always thought that Michigan called it power. Again, I guess it depends on the play, but I thought they called it power. He's referring to this play as counter. So in Michigan's playbook, he calls this play power. So these guys are communicating here. They're deciding on who's going to pull based on the alignment of these guys. Again, as a high school coach, when I ran these plays, it was just predetermined. It was the two guards that were pulling or blocking down. So now they're making a change as to who's pulling here.
Scars, this is what they refer to as the counter tray as well. Is that what they're talking about?
No, they don't. I mean, he didn't say tray, but he did refer it as the counter. But he's talking about how these guys are communicating to determine which one is going to pull. Okay, based on the alignment. So they decided that they're going to pull. They're pulling this guard, the center's going to block back, and then the tight end's coming. So these guys are they're communicating this at the line of scrimmage, and that's what he's talking about.
So you're telling me they go up to the line, and it could be the center, it could be the guard, it could be the tackle that they're pulling. They're going to wait till they look over the defense and listen to what the quarterback has to say?
Danny, there's a lot of guys that never play in college because they can't handle the mental part of things. Okay, I know these former offensive linemen like to talk about how smart they are. Well, they're telling the truth because the things that Sherrone Moore is talking about here, these, if they shift at the last second, but he's talking about how these guys are communicating about the alignments and how they're going to best block it. If this guy was in this gap and this guy was in this gap, it would be blocked totally differently. So he's talking about good technique. He's talking about the nice job from he's talking about the nice job here, how he's climbing. And, that's just a beautifully run play there. So I'll run one more play. But, yeah, this
let me give you a question. Let me give you another question. Because we're watching. This is at Nebraska last year. That place was loud as anything. What if they're up to the line and do you have hand signals? Are you telling me that they go up and they could have any of the three linemen pulling on there? But what if it's so loud and you can't determine it? You come insert signals?
Benny, I think they're in there close and they find a way to get it done. I don't know if I've ever seen. You have to look close. Are you seeing hand signals? All right, here's against the Buckeyes. This will be the last play. Again, he's talking about we saw TCU do this to us, but he's talking about that they like, spreading people out, get these guys out of the box, and then just run the football inside. That's what he's talking about here. Just get some space, get some people out of the box. Everybody does it, and that is just beautifully blocked. Well, here, let's look at this view. Same play, but you see how coaches Denny and we would look at both views. Different position groups wanted different views. Like the interior defensive linemen, interior guys. This is a great view for you, but the other view, if you're coaching the secondary, this isn't doing Coach Carr any good. That's the view you want if you're coaching the secondary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's one of the reasons you have the different views, So we'll take a look at this view and how well Michigan blocks this same play. So he's talking about this. Good job here on this double team. He's talking about that. And he's talking about taking it vertical, how these guys, they move them. You want movement. He doesn't want him. You don't want this guy right here. They want to move him. Get him moved out of there. That's what he's talking about.
Scar, why couldn't Michigan move TCU? And then Georgia was able to blast them off the ball like they were. Their running backs at a field day.
Yeah. I'm going to shut this down.
All right.
I'm going to shut this down and get into something and get into my next thing on there. And there's no sound here, but I'll answer your Denny, I could put anyway with TCU, Georgia. I thought Georgia had a better scheme and what they were doing to block them. I thought they did things that I wished Michigan would have did. And they got good. Listen, Georgia's got good players, but I think a big part of it was scheme. It was a lot of it on our coaches. We lost that game to TCU. Coaches and players were not good enough. And so to answer that question, I would say that we did not put the right schemes out there, and we play right into the hands of TCU. I'm going to try to put a different recruit or two every time I come on, couple recruits. Just look maybe 4 or 5 minutes of film. And I got Cole Cabana here, and these are some of the things you check off, as a running back as you're recruiting them. So obviously he has the speed. So that's the first thing, check speed. But you always want to look at who a guy's playing against, Denny. You know what I mean? Who is that team that he's running and they can't catch him? So that's something coaches are always looking at. Nasty, toughness. Let's take a look at him here. This is him right here. Just showing some toughness, a bit, wants to hit people. Coaches like to see those things. So that stuff is good. I want the guy that can make a guy miss. So this is important. Again, though, who's he making miss? Who is this team? Those things are good. Make a guy miss, nastiness, speed. Okay, now let's see. Does he have hands? Can he catch the football? Do we have to cover him? So here he is. They throw a pass to him. Nice thrown pass, touchdown. So it appears he can catch the football. And he makes another guy miss there. Stuff I want to see: secure the ball, make a guy miss. Again, I want a guy that secures the ball more than anything. Number one, you better secure the ball, and can you make guys miss? See that right there? I like that move right there. When you look at that, are we looking at the next Blake Corum? Is he going to attack the weight room like Corum? Denny?
I would love to get one of the GPS or hand time 40s on him, because in high school they're saying that he's running a sub 4.4. He's running a 4.34.
Yeah, he looks pretty quick. And you got to have that. But here's hands and then read the block. So can he read his block? He catches the ball here. They throw a little screen. That's all I got on him. I just wanted to show a couple clips of what we're getting. And, you look at him. Is he going to attack the weight room? Can he block? Can he pass protect? Can he do those things? So just wanted to take a quick look. I'll try to put a guy we have signed, maybe one or two, three of them real quickly. But yeah, he checks all the boxes, so I can see why, he was a highly recruited kid.
He seems a little upright, in the backfield, like he's almost standing, like, he's not down in a position like he seemed a little, I don't want to say stiff, because
some of Denny, they'll work on a guy's technique and his posture. You remember old Eric Dickinson, he stood straight up, and there's other guys, everybody has a different approach, and Michael Hart will look at him and figure it out, man. But
let me ask you something about the championship game, and this is I made a few observations. After a couple of minutes, I was like, all right, this game's over. But you mentioned Brock Bowers, the tight end for Georgia, and just how much they schemed up for him. And I'm not saying that Colston Loveland, the true freshman from Michigan, is Brock Bowers, but he wears 18. And he can get out there and catch the ball over the middle and do some different things. Like a Loveland or Bowers Light or whatever you want to say. I would think that Michigan would try to do everything they can. Loveland looks like he could be a weapon. Not that he's going to be Brock Bowers, but it was just one of those things. I'm sure there were other people that, just because he wears 18 and 18 for the Dogs was so great, and you had so much time to sit around and think of things. I think Colston Loveland, that's one of the guys that you're thinking about. They got to scheme some things up for him. He was so good this year.
Yeah, he's a kid that has a great future. There's no question. Brock Bowers is a special guy. In general, Denny, when I looked at offensively why we struggled early on, and I was praising Michigan offensive coaches for this all year, even though everybody that looks at Michigan, you got to defend Michigan. If I'm going to start with power play, inside, outside zone. I'm going to stop I'm going to start with their run game if I'm a defensive coach against Michigan. Okay. And every game we played, Denny, we would start out throwing the football, or we would do things to get the defense away from focusing on our best stuff. And then once we got a little success throwing the football, then we would start to hammer them with our run game. And I thought we did the opposite against these guys early on. We started trying to run, then we ended up punting a lot often early. But it was just, Denny. And I looked at some of the things they did defensively. I looked at I was talking about trying to put that read in conflict for Duggan. And sure enough, the first time they ran that RPO read, quarterback read against Georgia, what did Georgia do? They did what I was talking about. They put that read in conflict. They made it a tough read for him, and they drilled Duggan for an 8-yard loss. So, you got to out-coach people and you got to outplay people. And Georgia does both. I'm just telling you, and Jim's got to compete against that. So he knows what kind of when he goes into a living room right after Kirby Smart, and who knows what Kirby offered. So I don't want to go back down that argument, but
smart feedback by Cameron asking the question if Brock Bowers is 19, and he certainly is. So he's close to the 18 is close to 19, and he does play tight end. But good call there. Cameron, you're a smart guy to be able to pick that up. Thank you very much. Let's get some questions here for you, Scar, in the remaining minutes that we have you. Cody says, the Big Ten's good teams are a lot better than the SEC middle-of-the-road teams, but their powerhouses are miles above everyone because of the talent they get, and they care about winning titles. What do you think?
Yeah, Georgia and Alabama, and that's what we want to happen in the SEC. We want a distribution of talent. We'd like to see Ole Miss beat Alabama every now and then. We don't want Georgia and Alabama to dominate the South. We like them other guys to nick them every now and then. But he's right. The top guys are good. They're getting Georgia, Alabama. They're right there all the time, and we probably got maybe better overall depth as a conference, but
but clearly in the way Ohio State plays football, Ohio State had Georgia. I mean, that's the one part about the finals. Like anybody that stayed up and watched that game, it wasn't like Georgia was dragging them up down the field. Ohio State should have won that game.
Oh yeah, Ohio State. There's no question they have the athletes to play with Georgia. I thought they would have defended them better. I don't want to say I knew, but I had a real good feeling that Ohio State was going to score a lot of points against Georgia.
You picked them. You picked them here on the air, Scar. You said take Ohio State.
Yeah, I won money on that game. I had it with 6.5, and I forgot that I did pick that, but
yeah, you did.
I thought they would defend them better, but I knew they had the athletes to play with them, and they just didn't do a very good job on defense. But
Ralph is going back to the mid '80s. He remembers Scarcelli on the field. Remembers the great 85 season. It was a great 85 season. How about that?
A lot like this year, man. Real good defense, good run game, good quarterback running around. Guys cared about each other. A lot like this year's team.
All these guys remember that Brock Bowers.
Danny, they're messing with you, man. You got to get your numbers right, man.
Yeah, maybe it's the glasses. I was sitting back. I was going to see if I could blame it on having a couple beers, but I didn't even drink during the game, so I can't blame it on that.
But anyway, what else is going on? Danny, the Wolverines are winding down. They're in the weight room now, and this is Ben Herbert time, and they're meeting with the strength coach. They're going over their off-season goals strength-wise, and really trying to gear up. And there's probably some guys that are contemplating transferring. That is going on right now. Otherwise, they're getting ready for spring football.
All right, 2 more questions for you, Scar.
Okay, I'm going to answer. Cameron here said, you may have answered, but does your gut say Harbaugh? My gut says Harbaugh is back. My gut says our assistant coaches will be the best paid in the Big Ten. Jim Harbaugh deservingly will be, along with his assistants, will be the best paid in the Big Ten. I think we're gonna NIL make some advances that we probably won't know about, and I just think up our program with train. I think it's going to happen. I do. They're crazy to not get it done.
What's your gut say about the buyout? I'm sorry.
That's
I don't know
what. That's a smoke screen, man. Jim's going to be with the. Hey, listen, I've been picking winners all year, right? I've been picking winners all year, and you go with Scar. Jim's coaching the team here this spring.
Okay, we're going to hold you to that. David, the final question for you says, Jim does not want to deal with the drama of the NCAA violation. Jim figures if he leaves, the NCAA violation allegations go away. Yeah, we haven't, I don't know about the, I know we started talking about the violations, but we know what some of the violations.
It's amazing. You know, Denny, you got the guy at USC calling Harrison at Ohio State. He's got his, they're calling his old man. You got, some of these things are going on. You got all this tampering going on, and we're worried about a hamburger. We're worried about a taco. It's crazy. I get it, man. It's the rules are the rules. But, it's amazing how some of all this tampering that going on, and the NCAA doesn't know nothing about it.
Leave Jim Harbaugh alone.
Well,
give his contract. Fatten up this name, image, and likeness, and let's run this thing back. They do have a pretty good team. That's the one. But of all of this, they got a really good team on paper. Definitely they do on offense. And, last year, I remember, I said it, that, look, it's not going to be the same defense that they had the year before. They're going to give up some more points. You're going to have to rely more on the offense. Now here they are. We're saying, I think you kind of feel the same way. They're going to have to really rely on the offense. But, Jesse Minter stays around, and whatever they were doing there, along with his co-defensive coordinator, Steve Clinkscale, you got to feel pretty good about those coaches. Minter Klink on the defensive side, and Weissmore on the offensive side.
Denny, I used to say that to my coaches all the time. I listen, my former players, a lot of them listen, and we would always get together after the season, and we'd start looking around, and we'd say, oh, man, we're losing Weibel over here. We're losing Jones. We're losing Hannah. And this other coach is saying, well, we're losing this guy. And I would look at him and say, you know what, though? We got Coach Ward is back. Or we got Coach Shield back. Or I got Coach Evans back. Or Coach Schindler. These are all my coaches. So they understood that a lot of times, having all your coaches back is a great thing, too. So you got to have coaches and players back.
I saw Florida, they paid like the best money they could for their quarterback, and then he was supposed to be in yesterday, and they're like, hey, he's like ghosted or something. Maybe he got a better deal to go somewhere else. So I don't know. All right, Scar, did I leave any stone unturned here as far as talking about anything?
No, we're confident. Jim will be. This will all be squared away, okay, and we'll be rolling. We'll be working, looking to get a spot for that third banner. The equipment guy, I met him down there. The guy down there, they got some good equipment people, and they will make a new spot for the third trophy that we'll be working on.
I know you don't like all the comparisons and everything, but as a new equipment guy, could you call him a young John Falk, maybe?
Johnny was I talked to those guys and I explained, John Falk. He was there, I don't know, 30, whatever, how many years he was there. But the guy played a role. He had other than just, getting your equipment and getting it right is important. But I talked about John Falk in the past. Football is tough. The grind of football in school, and you're going down there every day and you're beat up and you're sore and you're feeling sorry for yourself. And the coaches are tough and you're hating the world. And then you had John Falk, who would have a stupid joke for you, the team, whoever, just to kind of get you through the day. So Johnny, I love you. He played a role to just, to get you through sometimes the grind of being a college football player.
Scar, have you ever been to the Ann Arbor institution in the summer of German Park? Have you ever been there?
Yeah, I know that area. Yeah.
It just reminds me of John Falk was the trainer when you were there, but one time it's a park outside of Ann Arbor, and they serve German food. They've got some beer there, but a lot of people go in the summer. But there's one particular in August. I think it's the third Saturday or something. You go in there, And then I was able to sit at a table with John Falk. And I just sat there. And for like 2 hours, John would talk. And he pretty much talked straight. But, he would stop maybe to, refill. And somebody would say, John, what about the 76 Ohio State game? That's all you had to say. And then John would talk for another half hour. And then he would stop. And then, you might have another. And then somebody would say, what about Bo's first Rose Bowl? And then Falk would talk for another half hour. There was one point I thought, man, I got to take a recorder. I just record all of this. And then I was always amazed when I actually heard John talk like as an interview like this. I'm like, I don't know how he talks one way when he's out at German Park, very colorful. And then he's, talking on the radio or something or talking to his reporters, and he sounds completely different. It was
you got to clean it up, Danny. You got to clean all that up.
He was pretty good at cleaning it up.
Hey, Danny, if you can get a feel for if our viewers and listeners are interested at all in clinic tapes by our coaches, give us some feedback on that. If you want Scar to kind of break down clinic videos of our coaches, if there's interest in that, I'll do it. Andre
says, like the vid, y'all. So I'm going to go ahead and say he's in. He's in.
We'll work on that technical issue to get the coach's voice, instead of Scar.
That sounds good. I liked it all. Andres is all about the clinic tape. There you go.
All right, good. We'll get some more of that, and you guys can hear the coach. We got to figure out how to get that taken care of.
Well, good job, Scar. You coached everybody up. We'll be heading all. Well, I'll be rowing in the right direction a week from today when you come back, and we're talking about the contract being done and Michigan moving ahead and looking towards spring ball. Right?
Yeah, we'll look at. We'll be smiling and shaking hands, and then we'll talk some quick thoughts on the offense. Third base, Ryan Day. Talking about Ryan. Yeah, Ryan Day would love it, Scar. Yeah, so we will get things going and get ready for third base making his return trip to Ann Arbor. But Danny, we'll get the tape ready. Wolverines are our strength training, and we'll talk about offense a little more detail next. The big question I still have, though, who's our backup quarterback? Who is our backup quarterback? And is Davis DeLorme the way we're going? So we'll talk about that as we move forward.
All right. That sounds great. Talk to you next week. Have a great week, Scar. Enjoy the playoff games this weekend. Do you like any of the game? I keep asking you question after question.
Yeah, I'm looking at
Tom Brady. Does he get the win over the Cowboys?
They got that at home. They are where? Where is that game at? That game is in Tampa.
Yes, the big sombrero.
That game is in Tampa. I think the line. I forget what the line was. I like Dallas there. 3 points. I like Dallas. I don't think Tampa looks like they're falling apart. But I don't do well with pro football. I can't figure out pro football. So you stay with what you know, man. Some people were born on third base. Think they hit a truck. That's one of many great Jim Harbaugh lines.
There you go. We'll see if he's got another one up his sleeve here this week. All right. For Jim Scarcelli, I'm Dennis Fithian. Thanks for watching. You can always, I see, some people just getting in. You can always go back and watch it from the beginning or listen to the podcast. Rate it, subscribe, comment, do all those things. Hit that thumbs up button. And we'll talk to you next week. We'll talk to you tomorrow here at 1 o'clock for the latest in what's going on in Michigan sports. Till then, see you later. Goodbye.
All right, go Blue.